Hi, I'm Manny Pedroso from Manny's Photography, and I just want to talk about today. I've got my bag here, and I want to talk about the fact that after about 12 years of shooting Sony, shooting Canon, I switched to Sony. And the reason why I did it, and just the joy I'm getting out of it. It's really been a great move for me. To start out with, Canons makes great cameras. I love them all the time. I use them. They have a really great selection of lenses, and that's one of the reasons I really favored Canon over all the other camera manufacturers. A few years ago, a friend of mine who was a professional photographer, and he's now retired, used to shoot Nikon, and he started buying Sony cameras, and I was like, well, why are you doing that? Why aren't you shooting Nikon? And I had a big Canon full frame with a full frame sensor, and I've had the Canon 1D series. I've had a few of the Canon, what they call prosumer cameras. I started out with like a Canon Rebel XT. It was an 8 megapixel camera, and I had a Canon 30D. I had a Canon 1D Mark III, and then I had a Canon a 7D. And then from the 7D, I went to the 5D Mark II full frame sensor, and then I had that for a while, and then from the 5D Mark II, I began to become interested in the Sony cameras. I was on YouTube and just looking through, and I found a guy named Trey Ratcliffe, and he did a video on why he had switched from Nikon to Sony, and he talked about all the different features that the Sony has and how more portable they are and things like that. And so I began to look at that because not getting any younger, and it gets harder and harder to carry these big heavy cameras around. And I carried my 5D Mark II down into the Grand Canyon with my son. We hiked down there about 4 years ago, and it was hard to carry. And I even put I put a 24 millimeter lens on it, the Canon 24 millimeter lens, f2.8, and it's a pretty light lens, but still it was a lot to carry. So I decided that I wanted to start looking into the Sonys. Well, I looked into the Sony a6000, which has a APS-C sensor, which I realize is plenty for me. I don't need a full frame sensor. I've done some weddings and things like that, and maybe in that situation you might feel you need a full frame sensor. Even then, I don't think so, because most people don't. I don't know, for full frame sensor, I think you have to blow your images up pretty big for it to make really a bit of difference. The APS-C sensors are really good now, and they give you a lot of resolution. And I've blown pictures up. I have the Sony RX100 Mark III, and I've blown pictures up to like 12 by 18 from that camera, and they come out beautiful. So I don't really see any need to have a full frame sensor for myself. I don't need one. And for the kind of photography I do and the way that I present my images, I really never blow up really big, and the Sony a6000 has a 24 megapixel sensor, and the resolution is really good, and the images come out really nicely. And they do have some nice lenses, and you can, with the Sony a6000, use a lot of other lenses with adapters, so it's actually a pretty good system. But anyway, now I've switched over, and this is my bag now, and I've had this bag for a while. I carried my Canon in this bag. This is a Case Logic bag. I did a review on it on YouTube, my first review I've ever done, and I'm fairly new to YouTube still, but I just want to talk about what I have in my bag now that I carry a Sony. And you know, the nice bag, it carries nice stuff. I bought this here because this is a remote, wireless remote. This piece goes on top of the camera, and it plugs into the camera right with the multi-use, whatever you want to call it. And this is the charger for the Sony batteries. I like this because I like doing HDR a lot, and one of the complaints about the Sony a6000 is when you do HDR, you have to keep your finger on the button in order to get all 3 shots to fire off. And a lot of people are concerned, well, especially if you have a long exposure, that you're going to move the camera. So this here how this works is you're off the camera, you're wireless, and you press this button here, and you can hold it down for as long as you need to for those 3 shots to go, and you're not touching the camera, so it doesn't cause any vibration. So that's why I bought that, and I like it for my camera for when I do HDR. Now, here's the other part of that. The one good thing about this bag is you can open it just to here and pull your camera out, which is my Sony a6000. I have a right now on it, I have a 10 to 18 millimeter lens. Really nice lens. I really like it. I bought it recently. I'm really enjoying it. And I do a lot of nature landscape photography. I guess you would say rural landscape photography. I like traveling. I'm both. I like traveling out in the country and getting shots out in the country, and I like going to the city and getting city shots. And this lens actually works for both of those situations. I really enjoy it. I've really been liking it. And it also fits the camera so well because it is a small camera and it's very light. Some people complain that it's heavy, but then, I don't know, maybe they're not coming from heavy Canon cameras or Nikon cameras, so they feel it's heavy. Okay, this is the inside of my bag, and the camera goes right in there. I purchased some new stuff. This is my Peak Design strap that I use. Very nice. It's got these little, you can clip it on and off on your camera like this. It's really cool. You know, you just clip it on and off, and you know, I like the fact that I can take the strap off whenever I want to and not have a strap on my camera when I want to. In here I got this really, here's my my Sony RX100 Mark III, I mean. Really nice little camera. I love this little camera. It's one of my favorite cameras I've ever owned, which seems kind of odd, but it is. I really love it. It's so portable. It takes really nice images. It has all the features of an SLR or my Sony a6000. The only feature it doesn't have, of course, is that it has a fixed lens, and the lens is I forget what the lens is. The lens is 24 to 70 equivalent. Because it has it's called a 1-inch sensor, which doesn't mean it's 1 inch, but it's a larger sensor than you'll get in most cameras this size. So really like that camera, really like it a lot. And I took it one year. I went to Europe, and that's the only camera I took. It was kind of scary, but I got a lot of good images, and it worked out fine. In here, I bought this lens. This is a Sigma 40 millimeter lens. Really like it. It's really sharp. It was really cheap. It was only like $199 or something like that. Really like it a lot. And then beneath that, I have the Sigma 60 millimeter lens, which is really nice, really sharp, takes really nice images. Both of these lenses are 2.8. Not super fast, but fast enough if you can get a steady hand and you're not worried about movement. And here I have a little blower to blow dust off my lenses and my sensors and stuff like that. And in here I have the Sony lens, very nice lens. I like this very much. It's the 18 to 105. Very nice lens. It has OSS, optical image stabilization, and so does the 10 to 18 millimeter lens has optimized optical. Anyway, it's OSS, but it's image stabilization. And really like that lens. And here, now one of the things I was hesitating about moving from Canon to Sony is there's nothing in the menu that talks about high-speed sync for flash. And I couldn't see any way that I would be able to use high-speed sync with the Sony. And if you're doing any kind of portraits and you want to get any kind of different look, you're shooting somebody against a bright sky and you want to get them and the bright sky and the sky exposed correctly, you need to expose for the sky and then light your subject up with the flash with high-speed sync. And I couldn't see any way that I could use high-speed sync on the Sony, so that I hung on to my Canon in case I was going to do a wedding or a portrait or something like that, and I would be able to do high-speed sync. Well, with this lens, and there are other lenses like it, flash, I'm sorry. This is a Gordox, and it is the V862, and the S is for Sony, and it just has a mode on it that you set for high speed sync, and it works really nicely. I really love this flash. I love it more. I had the 580 EX2 Canon flash, and I paid like $500 for that thing, and it worked well, but even its remote firing was through IR. Well, this has a radio receiver inside of it, okay? And I bought this with it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I bought this with it, which is you put this on top of your camera transmitter and a trigger, and it triggers this flash. And I also have the smaller version of this flash too. And with these two, I can do high speed off-camera sync, and it's really nice. And also, what's really cool about this lens is it has this lithium-ion battery, this big battery that acts like a battery pack. I used to have to hook a battery pack to my Canon flash so that I could get a quick recycle time when I was doing multiple images and multiple portraits, like and trying to get a flash right away. Well, this does that. This is just like having a camera pack inside your camera. So really love this flash, and so that solved the problem of the high-speed sync for me for the Sony, and pretty much that's when I decided I was going to just go ahead and sell off my Canon stuff. And I recently sold my my Canon 5D Mark II to a young man, and he looked like he was going to enjoy it, and I was happy to let him have it. And this here, pretty cool little tripod. I did a review on this on YouTube, and it's if I can say this right, Zilla 2 tripod, and it folds out, it comes out, it sits about 20 inches high, and I like doing low angle. I like getting low to the ground when I'm doing my photography a lot of times, so I like being at about 20 inches or lower to the ground, so this works good for me, and this is going to be my travel tripod. You can, if you want to get higher, you can set it on top of something, and it's just easy. It's so easy to carry around. I can put it in my backpack. I've never had one that I could put in my backpack. Or it has a thing here that you can hang it onto your belt, or it also has a strap that goes to this case, so you can carry it that way, or any number of ways that you can carry it. So I really enjoy that tripod. Really, so that's how I've gone. That's the direction I've gone in. All my batteries are in here. For switching to Sony, I have everything in here that I need to travel with. I have, let me see, 4 lenses, a flash, an extra camera, all this cool stuff, and it all fits in this little bag. I love the Sony a6000. I'm really enjoying using it. I don't miss the Canon. I don't miss carrying that heavy camera around, especially when I'm traveling. I find, let me show you something, that when I'm just around town, I carry this little bag around. And this is made by Low Pro. And I carry this little bag around when I'm just traveling around town. And what's incredibly cool about this is I can take my a6000 and just stick it in here and take it wherever I go. Okay, I can take one of my lenses. I can take any one of my. I can take even 2 or 3 of my lenses if I wanted to. But the point is to stay light, and put them in here. It has a compartment in here, and you can put them in there. And there's plenty of room in there. I could get all these lenses in there if I wanted to, but I wouldn't want the weight. But I can put my 18 to 105. Oftentimes I'll just carry this little 40. Sigma 40, so I have just a little bit more of a normal lens besides a wide angle lens, and which this would also be great one to carry with me, my 60, which gives me a portrait lens. But so normally when I'm around town, I have my camera with me all the time. This is my bag. I put my wallet in here and everything, and I have my camera with me all the time, and I couldn't do that with my Canon. And we all know that the best camera you can possibly have is the one you have with you all the time. That's the camera you're going to shoot with. That's the camera you're always going to bring with you. You're always going to use, because, and you're not going to say, "Oh, I'll just take pictures with my phone." And phones take great pictures for Facebook, and the internet, but they don't really do what I want them to do, and they don't have the features I want them to have, and not yet at least. And they don't have the sensor size I want. I mean, the sensors in phones are tiny, and you're just not going to get the same resolution that you're going to get from a camera, from a dedicated camera. So, yeah, that's why I switched, because I wanted something lighter. And I mean, you can go and look on the internet and look at reviews on the a6000 and on the Sony cameras, and they are just rich with features. I mean, that the Canon doesn't have, that a Canon that I paid $3,000 for doesn't have. I paid $500 for this camera. It was six something with a lens, with the kit lens, which I did sell because I didn't care for. But and it's feature rich. It does so many things that the Canon didn't do. It has eye autofocus, where it'll actually focus on a person's eye when you're doing a portrait, so the eyes are sharp, which is what we want in a portrait. It has a good lock-on autofocus system. It has a much better autofocus system than the Canon 5D Mark II had. It has 179 focus points on the sensor, and I guess the newer ones have like over 400 focus points. And it tracks really well, which I don't use it that much for that, but it does it. And it just takes great images. I've taken some wonderful images with it, and I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with my switch. For me, it works for me. It's so much more portable for me. It's so much more easier to take it with me, and I'm just very happy with it. So I would say, if you're happy with Canon, if you're happy with Nikon, that's fine. That's good, because it is a transition. I still have I sold a lot of my stuff, my Canon stuff, but I still have a few Canon lenses that I really hate to let go of. So I'm actually videoing this on a Canon Rebel 5 Ti. Yeah. And so we still have a Canon in the house. And I'm holding on to those lenses, and I'm also getting an adapter for my Sony, for Canon to Sony, which is another neat thing about the a6000, is you can get an adapter for almost any kind of lens. And you can use almost any kind of lens on your Sony a6000. The autofocus isn't that good, but you can manual focus, and the manual focusing on the Sony a6000 has a feature and that helps you to manual focus, and it works really well. And so manual focusing for anything other than sports or something like that is really fine for me. So anyway, this is my thoughts on why I moved from Canon to Sony. Thank you.